David Stearns breaks down the New York Mets trade for Brandon Nimmo. Will he give us an inkling as to what is next for our New York Mets? Let's take a look at it. What's going on, Mets fans? Welcome back to another offseason edition of Metcast. As always, I am Randy. If you're enjoying this content, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, consider becoming a member to be guaranteed to have your questions and comments read live on air. With that said, David Stearns just spoke at the podium within the last 2 or 3 minutes. I want to hear what he has to say, and I'm going to react live with you guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.
Hand it over to President of Baseball Operations, David Stearns. David.
Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for hopping on. I'll start by just thanking Brandon and his family for an incredible career with the Mets. You know, from the moment the Mets drafted Brandon, he did everything right here. He represented the organization exceptionally well on and off the field, and really was a great Met. We wish Brandon and his entire family nothing but the best as they embark on the next phase of Brandon's career with the Texas Rangers. We're also really excited to add Marcus Semién to our organization. Marcus brings an elite level of defense. He's one of the best defensive infielders in baseball and has been for a number of years. He's a winner. He brings a winning drive and determination that we think is going to fit well in our clubhouse. And he balances our lineup from the right side, which is something we were seeking to do. So very happy to be able to bring Marcus in. And beyond the immediate player return part of this deal, we think this opens up possibilities and flexibility for us going forward, both.
That's what I want to hear. When we're talking about flexibility, let's take a look out there, Mets fans. What is available this offseason? Jeff McNeil, he is a lock to be traded. From everything we're hearing, Kodai Senga, a lock to be traded. So when I'm looking at this team from a distance as well as right up with you guys, but left field, the outfield is wide open right now. They don't have a left fielder, period. They're not sticking McNeil there. They're not sticking Beatty there. And let's be honest, look at the top free agents and the top players that are supposedly available. Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, dare I say, my guy, Fernando Tatis Jr. And a lot of you guys are going to say out there, well, Ray, he got caught on the juice. Look, post juice, 25 home runs, 800 plus OPS all the time. And he's got an amazing arm and glove out there in the outfield, being the reigning Platinum Glove Award winner for San Diego. So acquiring a guy like that helps with the offense better than Nimmo. Let's just be honest here. And the glove, the run prevention that David Stearns so much wants to seek, it's all right there. Him or Bellinger would be a massive upgrade for this team. And then Semien, let's be real, Gold Glover just this past year, amazing glove, amazing defender, and advanced stats back it up too. 81st percentile when it comes to speed or sprint speed. Nimmo's falling off in that category. Nimmo was a minus defender last year. We all saw it. We can't sit there and pretend we don't see it. And how many times are we going to see second and third, a line drive base hit 100 miles an hour to left field right at Nimmo, and it doesn't matter because he doesn't have the arm. He can't throw the guy out at home plate. That's what we're talking about with run prevention. You get a Tatis in here. You get a Kyle Tucker in here. Both better defenders. You move Soto to left if he's willing to accept it, which I think he would, to upgrade the team. He's trying to win World Series. He wants to be one of the greatest of all time. It comes with winning championships. You move him to left field. He's got a more than average arm. I think it's better off all around for us.
From a near-term perspective, and also allowing space for a number of very young outfielders who are coming, who are talented, and will deserve spots at the major league level and to play at the major league level. And this transaction also provides room for that to happen as we move forward. So these are always tough decisions. This was not easy. Everyone here thinks very highly of Brandon. But in order to create the type of sustainable championship caliber play that we seek to have here, at times these types of decisions are necessary. And I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you have.
Let me address some people in the comments because I understand. Look, I like Nimmo. I don't want it to come up that I don't like Nimmo. And I see some people say, well, we lost because of pitching. It was a salary dump. First of all, Semien's making $6 million more this year than Nimmo. $6 million more than Nimmo next year. So it's not a salary dump. That's ridiculous. And on top of it, defense does matter. It does. How many games did Mark Vientos cost us on defense last year? How many runs? It just is what it is. McNeil can't get to the ball in the gaps. He's not a natural center fielder. Defense does matter. It simply does. There's another reason why when LA wanted to get Teoscar Hernandez away from the Mets, who had an offer in there, it's because he's got a cannon for an arm out there. Those things matter. It matters in little games. Yes, we can't pitch. I get that. And I think that's going to be addressed, obviously prospect-wise and house-wise, and potentially on the free agent market. But this allows the Mets to make even a bigger move, in my opinion. And Nimmo, the writing's on the wall, folks. He's going to be a DH within the next couple years. He's got the plantar fasciitis. His sprint speed has fallen. His defensive run saves has drastically fallen. And he's got 5 years left on that contract. So when Semien's gone in 3 years, and the last year he's only making $20 million, when he's gone in 3 years, they'll still be paying Nimmo $20 million a year in Texas when he's in his mid-30s and is unable to play the field.
Thank you, David. As a reminder, please use the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. We're going to end up, please state your name and affiliation. We'll start it off with Anthony DeComo.
Anthony DeComo, MLB.com. Hey, David, can you just walk us through the timeline of how this came about from conception, like whose idea it was at first, and all the way through to, I'd be curious to hear about your thoughts presenting it to Nimmo, who obviously had to clear it.
Yeah, this is something that really probably gained steam last week after the GM meetings. I think throughout the offseason, Texas had looked at Nimmo as a very attractive fit for them, and we had looked at Semien as a potentially really good fit for us. But we didn't really line up and really start making progress on this, I think, until towards the tail end of the GM meetings into last week. These are difficult deals to put together. You're talking about two very established players. You're talking about two players who are embedded in their organizations, who have had success there. And clearly in Brandon's case, you're talking about a player with no trade protection. And yeah, I'm going to keep the specifics of the conversation with Brandon, I think, between the two of us, but Brandon's a pro. He's the ultimate pro. He was very respectful, considerate, and considered, I think, throughout this process. He took time to digest everything, took time to speak with his representation, took time to speak with his family to determine what was best, and ultimately he decided to accept the trade.
Brandon was obviously not just a longtime player here, but a fan favorite. You've alluded to this a couple of times already, but to what extent or how much do you weigh those sorts of things versus just a pure baseball decision in these matters?
Yeah, it was something we had to think about, no question, both in terms of fan reality and the fan relationship with Brandon, but also we have real relationships with Brandon, and our players have real relationships with Brandon. Coaches do, front office does, And so that is a part of this. And that certainly makes decisions like this a little bit more challenging than they otherwise would be. But at the end of the day, I still felt like this was the right decision for the organization.
Thanks.
Come on, someone asked a big question.
Hey, David. Just when you talk about wanting to give young players a chance to play and have those avenues opened up, how do you kind of square acquiring a 35-year-old at a position where you have these young players who are available and who are maybe, if not already ready to contribute, a year or so away from doing so?
Yeah, I think the good thing about the players who maybe have played second base for us over the past couple of years who are a little bit younger or who may be coming who are infielders, there's a ton of positional versatility with all of them. So whether that's Acuna or Jet Williams or Ronnie Mauricio, we have a high degree of confidence that all of these guys can play multiple positions and can play them at a high level. And so we don't look at the Semien acquisition as necessarily blocking anyone from continuing their progression.
We all know, look, guys, I call a spade here. That is a load of crap. Jet Williams, who I recently had on the podcast, I know I say that a lot, but one of my favorite prospects, watched him down in high school, talked to scouts who scouted him down in high school. I was ecstatic when the Mets got him. He told me the Mets are having him play second, left, center, and right. But he more projects as a second baseman. And Carson Bench is this team's future center fielder. He is the apple of David Stearns' eye, the first-round pick 2 years ago, lit it up down in the minors, had a little bit of a transition in AAA at 22 years old. But they expect him to be on this team next year. That's how highly they think of him. They're not going to have Carson Bench and Jet Williams and Tyron Taylor in the outfield along with Juan Soto. You did not. Let me stress this really quick. The Mets did not sign Juan Soto to the largest contract in baseball history to watch Brandon Nimmo walk out the door and have rookies scattered all over the place who are unproven. Right now, as it sits, I'm a firm believer that Pete Alonso is not returning to the New York Mets. And that's not based on emotions. It's based on the things that I'm hearing, which sucks. I love Pete. Where are you going to replace that production? You're probably not. But if you watch Pete walk out the door, you get a better defense at first base, and you get a big bat in left field, it could make up for a lot of it. I think the Mets have their eyes solely set on Cody Bellinger, who would not be my first option. Telling you that right now. But I'm hearing too much. When there's smoke, there's fire. I brought it up 2 weeks ago on the platform. Brandon Nimmo trade. Go back. It's recorded. All this is recorded. You guys who are passionate followers of the channel, I thank you so much. I know you guys like the videos. It helps out the best with the channel. But I've been saying it for a reason, because it was out there. I was fighting back and forth with Dan. Dan said, it's not happening. He's got the no trade. And I've always said this in every sport. NBA, NFL. We covered the Jets. You guys all know that. Jetcast. And the Mets. When there's smoke, there's fire. From what I was told, the Mets were open to moving Nimmo to Los Angeles, not a place where Brandon wanted to go play. And guys, one thing that nobody ever wants to talk about, the implications when it comes to these players and where they go. What does Los Angeles have that Texas doesn't? What does the Mets have that Texas doesn't? Is state income tax. It's when you're talking a player who's owed $100 million, you're talking about tens of millions of dollars in taxes. And that matters to players. Playing in New York under our state tax with no state tax in Texas, a major difference. I also think that's a reason why DeGrom left. Maybe the Mets were willing to match what he got here, but the state income tax, $10+ million over a contract, it adds up. I also think the Angels aren't in the mood to win. We heard the reports that Nimmo spoke to Jacob deGrom. And we saw that report from Adam Ottavino, the former New York Met, telling you how Nimmo was not pleased about the Lindor talk for him becoming captain. The writing was on the wall, folks. I saw it. I know a lot of you guys who watch this channel saw it. But for Met fans who are just casuals, which is totally cool, A lot of people are upset. It's a horrible trade. You got to wait to see what happens after. We all know a lot of moves are to come. McNeil is gone. Senga is gone. What's going to happen with that? If the Mets make a big move and bring in a bat, you're able to put Semien. Maybe he hits 5th or 6th in this order, provides a little pop, a higher on base, a great glove out there. That's what I'm talking about. Something I wanted to address on this channel, or I have addressed multiple times. The bottom of this lineup was one of the worst bottom of the lineups I've ever seen in Mets history. Ronnie Mauricio, terrible. Luis Torrens, look, it is what it is. His bat was hot and cold, but he's not he's a catcher. Whatever, that's what you expect. Tyron Taylor, Ronnie Mauricio, those guys with sub 600 OPSs at the bottom of this lineup. Luis Angel Acuna, Cedric Mullins. How many times were we watching after the first inning, the second time around, Lindor, Soto, Alonso? Nobody's ever in scoring position when they came to the plate. So I'm hoping Semien is just a move where he'll hit 7th or 8th, supply a little pop, hit 240, I'm hoping. Hopefully he keeps that high on base. He doesn't strike out a ton, battles, gets pitchers up in their pitch count, and could be a leader in the locker room. That's what you look for at the bottom of this lineup. And what the Mets put out there when you had Tyron Taylor, Acuna, and Mauricio at the bottom third of the lineup should never happen again with a team of that payroll from last year. That was disgraceful.
And just how did you how much did you, I guess, wanting to change the clubhouse dynamics, did that play a role into this trade at all?
I don't know if it's necessarily wanting to change the clubhouse dynamics. I think it's a recognition that what we did last year wasn't good enough, and running back the exact same group wasn't the right thing to do. And so as we went into this, we believed and still believe that we have to be open to anything, that we shouldn't be in a spot to take anything off the table. And ultimately, if we're able to put transactions together that we think makes sense for the team, both now and in the future, that we have to consider them regardless of what names may be involved.
Disha?
Hey, David. Just Semien is obviously coming off of a down year at the plate. Given his age, it points to an obvious decline. Just what makes you believe that he can rebound offensively?
Yeah, I think there's still some underlying aspects of what he does that are encouraging for us offensively. I also think it's notable that this is a player that can contribute to winning baseball in a variety of different ways. And the bat may not actually lead the way at this point in his career. We think there's likely some bounce back in his offensive profile and his offensive game. But what we're counting on at the top of his skill set is the contributions he can make for us defensively, how he can perform on the bases. And we think those are going to help us win games.
Yeah, and then you have alluded to it a little bit. What are those intangibles from Semien in terms of winning drive, leadership, his high character? What did you like there about him?
I think as we really began to dig in on who this person was, talk to his former teammates, former coaches, people who have been around him, this is someone who takes craft incredibly seriously. Someone who does everything he can on a regular basis to get in the lineup, to perform at a high level, practices hard and holds those expectations of his teammates as well. And I think that's going to fit in very well for our group.
We'll go with Tim Britton from The Athletic.
Hey, David. Obviously, you have a second.
Look, I know he's trying to sell him a great clubhouse guy. It's defense. Gold glove last year. No matter how many people want to talk about it, we lost a lot of 1 and 2 run games. A lot. A ball that gets through the hole that typically doesn't, that extends an inning. We all spoke, and I'm not going to give the starters pass this year. I don't want you guys to think I'm saying that. But when all the starters are going 4 innings, 3 innings, a hard hit ball that gets scooped up here or there becomes a double play here or there. A great defense will help this starting staff. And they better add a big starter or 2, dare I say. That was the reports coming out early offseason. The Mets were trying to add 2 starters. And I see some comments. We'll get to a lot of your guys' comments right when we're done with this in a couple minutes. But I just wanted to get to
baseman who's been there for a while, and Jeff McNeil. Kind of where do you view McNeil fitting into your roster at this point in time now with Semien on board?
I think Jeff, by virtue of his positional versatility, still has the ability to impact our team in a variety of ways. What exactly that's going to look like is probably going to have to wait until we watch the rest of the offseason unfold.
That's right.
But certainly his ability to play corner outfield is a help. There may still be
wait for this offseason to unfold. Yeah, you're gone.
Days if Semien needs a blow where
my guy sounds like Joe Douglas about to trade Jamal Adams. We love him. He's here to be here long term. See ya.
He's playing some second base. We may ask Jeff to play some first base, depending on how
do I put this? If I see Jeff McNeil ever play first base for this team, I will eviscerate the hell out of David Stearns. That would be so beyond unacceptable. How many years did we have to live with Jeff McNeil as Pete Alonso's protection in the lineup? Jeff 240, 0 home run, horrible OPS McNeil behind Pete Alonso. I mean, I'll tell you guys my dream lineup right when David's done.
The offseason pans out. I talked to Jeff yesterday. He understands where we're headed. I think he wants to be a part of this, and he understands his positional versatility is a real asset for us.
And then you mentioned at one point that running it back from last year was not the right thing to do. At what point during that slide over the final couple months of the season did you, as a front office, come to that conclusion?
Running it back, the Frankie Montas edition, Sean Manaea, letting Sevy go. I mean, everything this guy touched outside of Juan Soto fell to pieces. Hell, do you think he wish he gave Pete a 5-year deal this past offseason now? You had Pete on 4 years, $120 million deal. That backfired as well. Even though we may have agreed with it at the time, at the end of the day, David Stearns is being paid $10 million smackaroos to make the right decisions. And right now, he's batting like 200, in my opinion.
Conclusion that you need to do maybe more.
On top of that, the trade deadline. That's one thing. Look, I'll try to be honest with you guys. When I see people say, well, other executives touted David Stearns' trade deadline. What a great, I could give a SHIT about what other GMs say. The trade deadline was terrible. Cedric Mullins was a bottom center fielder in all of Major League Baseball. Ryan Helsley crashed and burned like we've never seen before. Rogers was effective, but was not the 1 ERA guy that we traded for. Castillo's the only guy who panned out a little bit, and I would consider bringing back. But out of those 4 moves, you're 1 for 4. You give up 10 prospects. Jose Baez, top 10 prospect, about to be top 100 prospect. Drew Gilbert, imagine having him in center field last year instead of Mullins. Yeah, probably in the playoffs. I mean, another guy, Mullins, who constantly came up with guys on base and you knew he wasn't going to come through. Last year, and look, some people want to give Stearns a pass. I'm not of that. I don't give passes to people that are being paid number 1 money. I was the first one to call out Juan Soto when he was terrible to start the year, and the first one to throw him flowers. It's the same thing with Stearns. You better get your ish together if you don't want this fan base to revolt against you after this season. It's no longer year 1 or 2. Year 1, you asked for the pass, David. You wanted to reevaluate the prospects, the system, the staff, implement the pitching lab, a new hitting structure, work with Hefner, get your guy Chavez, bring in your manager Carlos Mendoza. And when I hear a former pitcher in Adam Ottavino out there talking about how Carlos Mendoza doesn't know what the hell he's doing with a bullpen, that scares the ever-living daylights out of me. A team that's supposed to be competing for a World Series every single season in the eyes of Steve Cohen, paying out, you know what, losing hundreds of millions of dollars running this team, and that's the product you put on the field? Think about the moves that still need to be made. Who's the number one starter on this staff next year? Where's Senga going to be? Is Diaz coming back? How's Alonso working out? You going to address left field? Where's center field? You can't tell me Tyron Taylor's a starting center fielder. Do you really believe in Alvarez? Who's that third? Vientos, Beatty? How many more questions can I ask? Who's the real deal? Is Brandon Sproat? And look, everyone knows how high I am on Brandon Sproat, or how high I was. Watched him, scouted him, went down to spring training last year, not just to see Juan Soto. I made sure that we covered specifically when Brandon Sproat was throwing, because I wanted to see what this guy's stuff was. Sat first row, right behind home plate. You guys, the videos are out there for you all to see if you want to check it out. Go back to the shorts from this past March and April. You'll see plenty of videos. Unbelievable stuff. Loved it. Loved what I saw. But then a ticker came off in my head. For those of you who are not locked in, which is fine, I always say that, but that's why you come here. Brandon Sproat's going to be 26 years old next year. If he was that good, he would have been up here 3 years ago. That's how it works. If I'm going to trade anybody, it's him. Big arm, big stuff, never put it together. Now, I may turn back in 2 or 3 years and say, we were wrong. But Tung is young. And one of these guys are going. I find it very, very hard to believe the Mets are going to go out and sign a Ranger Suarez, and that's it. Because it's not enough. And we all know, you look at Los Angeles, you look at the Brewers, you look at the Phillies, hell, even the Braves. I doubt the Braves are going to be down like they were last year. They still have talent. Those are the 4 teams you're competing with. And even San Diego, depending on what happens with them. You better have a massive offseason. You want 3 million people to show up again, Dave? Mr. Cohen, you want 3 million people to show up again? It's going to take big moves because a lot of Mets fans are hurting. A lot of Mets fans are angry, including myself. And I try to hold it in. You guys all know I'm emotional, but at least I'm willing to bring facts. And I will never, ever, and I've said it a million times here, never tote the company line when it comes to the Mets. That's why I have no sponsors. That's why I don't want sponsors, because sponsors tell you what to say. I'll leave it.
Or changes than you had initially thought? And is this enough of a change in your mind, or is there more to come?
So I think when you're in the moment in going through a playoff push, you're focused on the day-to-day. You're focused on trying to do everything you can to win that day. And there's off-season preparation going on, but there's probably not that time for real reflection on how the team is performing at that moment. So I think once we got into the off-season and had the time to fully reflect on our team is when I became convinced that we weren't just going to run it back, that we were going to make some changes. You're never sure which changes are actually going to occur, which changes are actually going to be possible. And that's still the case as we move forward. I don't know what the next transaction is right now, but I know we're going to keep going in the offseason. I'm very confident.
I'll tell you this. You're not making that Brandon Nimmo deal like that if you don't have something in the works. There's no way. No way. We're going to trade Brandon Nimmo. And you know what? If we don't end up with one of the big guys, we're going to, Tyron Taylor could play left and we'll just bring back Cedric Mullins or Harrison Bader. You'll have Juan Soto asking out right away. Not that he would ever leave, but give me a break, man.
We're going to have a productive offseason.
Laura Albanese from Newsday.
Hi, David. How do you foresee the outfield alignment shaping up? And does this increase your appetite to go after a sort of higher profile free agent outfielder? Or do you still feel like there are internal options that you can kind of plug those holes with?
I think it would be too early for me to really determine how our outfield.
Look at the smirk. One of the worst liars I've ever seen. And not everybody's good at it. Agents are good. You know who's a great liar? Scott Boras. Oh my gosh. But he does it for a living. Look, you can't give away, but look at the smirk on this man.
Field alignment's gonna
I have no idea what's next.
Shape up. Look, we Clearly, we've got Juan. Tyrone Taylor's back with us. We're very excited. We've got a number of young outfielders.
He don't even believe what he's saying, people. He don't even believe it. We got Juan and yeah, that's Tyrone Taylor, Mr. 600 OPS. I'm gonna tell you one thing: if Tyrone gets 250 at bats on this team, we are in some deep crap.
Including Carson Bench, who we think are going to contribute at the major league level over the course of next year. As I mentioned, we think Jeff is a contributor at the major league level in the outfield next year. Jet Williams has seen some outfield time, and we believe can play well there. And we've seen that in the minor leagues. And then there is the opportunity for external acquisitions, and we've got a lot of offseason left. I would expect us to continue to be active in a variety of spaces to bring players in here. And I think we'll have a better feel for what all of that looks like as we get much farther into the winter and ultimately into the spring.
Abby from the Daily News.
How much do you have to sort of weigh some of the clubhouse stuff in terms of, Nimmo was the key leader, Semién's the key leader, obviously on another team, but like, is sometimes some of that stuff a little bit, overblown by the fans? I mean, does it not weigh as much as their on-field production or on-field contributions would be?
I think it's all part of our decision.
All right, guys, I've heard enough of David Stearns. We got the answer we wanted there. External acquisition. Keyword. That's how we look at that. But I'm going to get to some of your guys' comments. If you're still with us, please like and subscribe. Consider becoming a member, because members, as you know, get their comments and questions answered. With that said, we'll start off with Dave, a member of 2 months. Appreciate you, Dave, of course. Alonso, Diaz, Bellinger, and Skubal next. A lot of people may think that's not realistic. I do. And look, I wouldn't want to give up what it's going to take to get Skubal. I'll be straight up with you guys. I love move to a Freddie Peralta, maybe get 2 free agents. I think to get Skubal, it's going to take McLean. I really do. And it's very unfortunate. I don't want to give him up. I'm not interested in giving him up. And that's what it's going to take. George, what's going on? Who's going to protect Soto if Pete leaves? Sign Pete now. Yep, a big question mark there. And I don't want to hear Bellinger. Lefty, no thanks. Jungle, what's going on? This YouTuber knows what he's talking about. Instant sub. Appreciate you subbing, my guy. Just say how I feel. I'm just a fan like you guys. Yeah, we have some great guests on the show. Very excited. Had Pat Ragazzo from Sports Illustrated on last night. Gave us the lowdown as to how this thing originated. Talked about some moves that he could see happening. If you guys want to check that out, all you got to do is go to our channel, click the live link, and it's under the blue background as of yesterday. You'll see it right there. Pat Ragazzo. And Dan and I also had our original reaction as this happened yesterday. And I want to give a shout out to you guys. That was our largest live stream ever. 12,000 views within the first 5 or 6 hours. Over 7,000 people live in that live stream. That was awesome to see. What a community. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, the support, the liking, subscribing, sharing the channel with friends. Love meeting a lot of you guys in person. Dan's going to be at the Queens Baseball Convention coming up in a couple weeks. If my second daughter's not born yet, my wife said I'm able to go, even though she's doing a couple days after that. So I will try to be there. If you guys are there and see me, come say hello. Love meeting the subscribers and chatting it up. Talking some off-season baseball. I met so many of you guys, and it's become a great community. David says, what exactly are you hearing? I'm hearing the Mets are prioritizing not only offense, but more run prevention. And that's what makes so much sense about Cody Bellinger. Let's go back to the beginning of the offseason. One of the first initial reports the second free agency started, Dave, was the Mets checked in on Cody Bellinger. So I got a feeling that's where they're interested, because if we're being honest with ourselves, if Pete walks, you play him at first. If you don't get a left fielder, you play him in the left. If you get a left fielder like Tatis or Taylor or one of those guys, you could stick him in center. The versatility speaks for itself. Now, his offensive prowess does make me nervous. I'm not going to lie. The up and down, 700 OPS, 800, 700, 800 over the last 4 years. I don't know what I'm getting out of him, but, you know, in a perfect scenario, in a perfect world, and I told you guys I would give you this today. Perfect world, the Mets bring back Diaz, they bring back Alonso, and they add Bellinger. And then you could really have the protection for Alonso that he's never had. You could have Soto, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Bellinger. Some of that combination. Easily. And then you throw Beatty behind him. I'm not totally sure where you go there, but you have those 4 guys there. Probably the best 1 through 4 in baseball right there. Yeah, tax-free. Absolutely. Yup. 100%. Don says, look at our team. We are a much worse team than we were at the end of the season. Even if Bellinger were a worse team, we are going to need to make at least 2 more moves of all-star caliber. I agree, but that's why it's hard to overreact as of right now. F. Morg, appreciate you. Another member. The team sent out commemorative tickets to the day Pete broke the home run record only a month ago. Why would they do that if they were going to keep him? I just want to let you guys know, when you see that stuff is planned out a while in advance. Jungle follows up. What's the deal with Vientos? Well, Vientos said he's splitting right now between first and third. I think there's a good chance he's moved. Not totally sold on it, but, you know, I don't think they would hesitate to move him. He's got future DH written all over him. You know, that's just, it is what it is. Juan says Jeff needs to go. Morg following up. I'm not impressed at all with Stearns has done this far. I don't think anybody is. And look, I like to give a little bit of credit for Juan Soto to him. A lot of people just say, oh, that's Steve Cohen. Fair enough. I understand. Zach, what's going on, my guy? Stearns better have an A+++ off season. He swung and missed last season at the trade deadline. He swung and missed at the off season too, bro. Can't just ignore that. You know, that's how it is. Dean, I agree. Aren't you tired of platooning at second base? It didn't work. We needed a second base, and he was on the block. I miss Nimmo, and hopefully signs Tucker. I could not agree with you more. Guys, and with that said, that's all I got for you guys today. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to have your comments guaranteed to be read, become a member for just $2 a month on YouTube. As always, all the breaking news, I'll be bringing it to you all week long as I'm off from work this week. As always, God bless. Let's go, Mets.